live that close, he tells me. So anyway, Dave is going to be speaking this morning on holding high officials accountable, and he has a background with Veterans for Peace, and he has been very active in Democratic Party circles, and I'll let Dave now fill in the blanks, and if you'd like to step forward.
Thank you. Had several requests to use the microphone and a couple requests not to, so I'll try to go with Democratic opinion unless I hear a strong revolt. You are required to turn off your telephones in this workshop and to run out in the hallway and purchase a copy of this book, which we will work from. This is the textbook for this course. You're not literally required, but if you do, I will sign it for you after the workshop. And what I'd like to propose is that we have, what, an hour? Is that right? Is that I'll sort of throw out some ideas for 15 and 20 minutes, and then we'll open it up and talk, and raise your hand and feel free to introduce yourself or not as you see fit. But just to get a sense, starting out, how many people here are represented or misrepresented, as the case may be, by Congressman Lujan? And how many people by some other Congress member? Who's your representative? Sanchez. Anybody else? Okay, so not to discriminate against Sanchez, but we may have a conversation towards the end that focuses on Mr. Lujan, who seems to be dominant here, and or on something else, because I think what I'd like to do is to sort of suggest what the problem is, what some possible solutions might be, and then have a discussion about what interests you all, where you think you might make a difference. And then for maybe the last 15 or 20 minutes, actually plan actions that we can engage in. So I'm going to try to keep a watch on my watch and do that. I want to note, starting out, that there are countries, and Argentina comes to mind, that have managed to hold former high officials accountable in very powerful ways decades after their crimes. And Argentina comes to mind because today the government of Argentina passed a bill with a strong majority, with the president committed to signing it, to bust up their major media monopolies. There is nothing that could do more good for any country, particularly this one, than to follow that lead. If you happen to get a copy of this book, go to chapter 14. That's what I'm talking about today, which is about how we deter crimes going forward. And or go to a website called prosecutebushcheney.org, prosecutebushcheney.org, which has 1,000,001 things you can use to fill your time to do good for this country. And I encourage you to do all of them. The purpose of which is to deter major crimes and abuses going forward, and more than that, to stop the ones that are continuing as we speak. Right? It's not theoretical anymore. It's not, oh, we're going to elect a saint now, and after his benevolent rule for 4 years, we might get someone who would abuse powers, and so we have to strip these powers away and deter wrongdoing in case that it is not hypothetical anymore. The illegal wars are continuing. The renditions are continuing. The indefinite detentions are continuing. The signing statements are continuing. The executive orders making law are continuing. The treatment of secret memos as lawmaking is continuing. The exclusion, the granting of immunity to former high officials, the retroactive immunity, the claims of secrecy are in fact expanding dramatically. None of this is theoretical or about some future president anymore. And so it's immediate, it's urgent, and it has to be moved up on the radar of everyone in Washington and everyone around the country. Not only that, but our State Department is unable now to talk to other nations about their abuses, about their wrongdoing, has repeatedly been told, who the hell are you to talk? And who the hell are they to talk? Nobody. We have no moral authority anymore. So this is about restoring the rule of law for all nations, not just our own. And you will find at prosecutebushcheney.org all sorts of angles to pursue, and many of them, I think, need to be pursued, and there are chances for success, and there in some cases are successes happening. One, of course, is to continue and to escalate our pressure on the Department of Justice in Washington, which has proposed now to do a prosecution, or to consider doing a prosecution that would actually be worse than nothing. Because what they are considering is the possibility of prosecuting so-called bad apples, low-ranking staffers who stray from the illegal policies in the secret memos, thereby establishing that a president can tell a lawyer to write a memo and legalize a blatant crime. Right? This would be worse than nothing. But we have an opening. We have an investigation underway. It's been restricted even further after 7 former CIA directors said, don't you dare. But it could be expanded. And it could easily be expanded if people who end up being prosecuted talk about their superiors. But there won't be any prosecutions at all, not even of 3 bad apples, unless we keep up the pressure. So you'll find at this website petitions, postcards, phone numbers, fax numbers, coalitions to join, statements for organizations to sign on to. You'll find an email and a website and a phone number to contact the FBI and report on crimes that you have been made aware of. So I encourage everyone to immediately report to the FBI that you have witnessed a former vice president on television confessing to torture, that you have witnessed a former president on television confessing to the felony of authorizing torture. There are state and local approaches. There are, most of these crimes are state crimes. It is illegal under most state laws to spy on people without a warrant, to torture people, to send soldiers off to kill and die in illegal wars. And there are ways to find jurisdiction. What's harder is to find prosecutors or attorneys general with any nerve. So try to find them, to persuade them, to elect them. There are civil suits that are actually making progress. There are rulings within the past month in cases of civil suits brought against Ashcroft and you that have said, yes, your victims can go forward with suits against you for damages, even though you've not been indicted for any of your crimes. There are foreign suits and investigations underway. Italy may soon convict a couple dozen CIA agents for kidnapping a man off the streets of Milan and sending him off to be tortured. Spain may soon indict 6 top U.S. officials, former. Great Britain is investigating its role in our torture crimes and renditions. There is the possibility of action at the international level. But I want us to focus. I want to hear from you where you think energy should go. But I want to encourage considering putting at the top of the list Congress, because we don't elect the Attorney General. We don't have a great deal of control over the Department of Justice. If we could drop some prevalent fantasies, we would realize that we don't have a great deal of ability to influence a president, and in most cases senators as well. But House members, we have a fighting chance with. They have to be reelected every 2 years. There are local media outlets and our own media outlets to influence them with, and we can go to their offices and their events and call them and phone them and fax them and sit in their offices, and at the very least influence the next election they face, meaning a primary election as well as a general election. And